Good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Today is Monday, April 19th, and show number 158. So, yeah, today's going to be, well, and today, before I get into that, today is kind of the first week back after my 3.5-week trip. I was back last week. I did 3 shows, but that was like kind of a, catch my breath after a hard workout. I didn't feel like I was really into any kind of a groove. So this is exciting because it's kind of that week where I get back into a bit of a groove. Now, one thing I'll say is that the groove I'm going to get into is a new groove. It's going to be similar to the old groove that I was in for 8 months before, or the last 8 months, or at least before I ended up taking the 3.5-week drive across America. But anyway, the new groove is really going to be about preparing for when I actually go out and live and work from the road over the next several years. And that's going to, hopefully happen by the end of the summer, sometime around there, maybe the fall. And so anyway, my monologue today is going to be talking about some very specific intentions I have to attract some sponsors and broadcast partners, create some new business affiliations that will allow me to go out and do that. So anyway, and the reason why I'm doing this, specifically these intentions, is because of our guest that's coming up. Andrew Kaplan is going to be joining us at about 15 past the hour, and we're going to be talking about his book, the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. And so Andrew is a law of attraction expert, and I'm very excited to speak with him about it because I have spoken about the law of attraction. I've been a fan of the law of attraction, and I use the law of attraction. Obviously, I'm a fan of Abraham Hicks, and been following that really for about 10 years, but the last couple of years, the last 2 years more intently. And anyway, so we're going to talk about law of attraction with Andrew coming up in just a few minutes. All right, so before I get into my monologue, let me go ahead and just share with you what's coming up this week. Now, tomorrow I plan to do a show. I do not have a guest scheduled, so I may just do a monologue, or I may end up popping a guest, and we'll find out. On Wednesday, Pamela Jane Garand is going to join us. She is a singer-songwriter, a poet, speaker, writer, sage, sound alchemist. She is a sound healer. So she is a singer and a songwriter, but we're going to talk about some sound healing and how that whole thing works. And that'll be on Wednesday's show. And then I'll also do shows on Thursday and Friday. Alrighty, so that's what's happening this week. And again, like I said, we're establishing a new normal, a new routine as we get going here. And we have Angie. Is it Angel or Angie? Well, let's see. Let me throw that up there. I don't have my glasses on. I think it's Angel. Angel, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. All righty. So let's see here. Where are we? What am I doing here? The monologue. Oh yes, I gotta remember how to work these buttons. I'm out of the groove on it. All right, so my monologue today is the sponsoring intentions. Sponsoring intentions, and again, this is from Andrew's book. One of the things he said was in chapter 5 is you gotta have your own. What do you want to manifest? What do you want to create? And so this is something that I've been working on and thinking about. But this is what we're going to talk about: the sponsoring intentions, and especially. It's really about the American Gumption Project. And let's just review quickly, say the American Gumption Project is me living and working on the road for the next 4 to 7 years, going around, doing interviews, meeting ordinary people living extraordinary lives, and bringing their stories to you. And how do I bring them? Through 3 different shows, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those 3 shows, and then I'm going to talk about some of the other sponsors that I need. But in the big picture, what I'm looking for is 3 areas. I'm going to call them 2 major sponsors and 1 additional sponsor. And so 3 of them altogether. So the first one is broadcast production. And under broadcast production, I have 3 different shows. So I imagine they could be 1 person, 1 organization or one group that I work with on all three, or it could be three separate groups. We'll just have to wait and see how that works itself out. And then the RV is another partner that I'm seeking and will align myself with, and I'll talk about that. And then the technology and the AV equipment, and that's kind of maybe that's the easiest one. Because it's kind of just some very specific things, that I'll need, and so we'll figure out how to make all that happen. Alrighty, so let's go. And then one thing I'm going to say right off the bat is that I'm committed to creating 10x to 100x return on investment for any and all alliances or partnerships. So in other words, I'm not looking for someone to just come along and support my vision. I'm looking for someone who I can actually provide some real value to, and someone who aligns with the American Gumption vision, and that I can provide some real value to them. And obviously they're going to be an organization that has an interest in doing whatever it is they do. And I'm going to support them. And so we're going to make that work. So 10x to 100x return on investment for any of the alliances and partnerships that that's a commitment right off the bat. And then the second piece, and this is a real law of attraction piece, is remain open-minded as to how, where, and why. So in other words, I don't want to define exactly what it looks like because I don't know what their specific needs and interest will be. And it's my intention to find out and to align myself with them, and how it actually comes to be, we will determine and we will figure it out. So now the broadcast production, there's really three shows, and I'm looking at them as three separate entities that all kind of mesh together and complement each other, but I'm thinking of them as potentially three separate productions. And so consequently, there could be three different alliances that I have for all three of them, or they could all fall in under one roof. Again, that will wait to be seen. So the first show is really the new American Gumption morning show. I've been broadcasting since August 3rd. This is show number 158. Been doing 4 or 5 shows a week, since it started back in August. And my intention would be that this show would continue. And maybe it's not called the American Gumption show or morning show, American Gumption morning show. Maybe it's just called the American Gumption, broadcast or whatever we decide. And it would be like maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So there wouldn't be as much, it'll just kind of continue in the form that it is. But instead of being like strictly a virtual show, which it's been since August 3rd, it'll be more of my studio in the RV, and people will come to the, depending on what part of the country, people will come and do, the interview that way. Or I'll do recorded interviews with people as I'm traveling about, and then play them during the daily broadcast. And then the third option would be, that it still could occur virtually. In other words, there could be some of the shows that get done just like they've been done ever since the beginning, where basically I'm in my studio and someone else is in their studio, and we're meeting via StreamYard or Zoom, one of those types of formats. So that's the American Gumption morning show. That's number one. And we're calling it the Daily Show for purposes of it. But this is like a mix of live and pre-recorded interviews. And it's a more spontaneous with minimal production. I want to increase the production value as I'm out there doing it on the road. But it's basically going to be kind of just like, me talking with other people, not a whole lot of, production in terms of editing and that sort of thing. It just will be what it is. So then the number 2 show that I envision is I'm going to call it the produced interview show. And this is really going to be more of a broadcast quality show, where I actually, have more of a long form interview that's video, and it's me interacting with them, or really them telling their story, but kind of maybe think of like a 60-minute style. I'm not a huge fan of, the 60 minutes, what they necessarily talk about, because my show is going to be much more positive and uplifting and not tearing, people apart and doing a lot of gotcha. But I'm telling happy stories. That's the one common thread through all of the American Gumption shows, is that they're shows that are uplifting and inspirational, ordinary Americans living or ordinary individuals living extraordinary lives. That's what we're showcasing, as opposed to, some of the, scandalous type of investigative reporting that happens with it. But imagine, like, you're meeting a person in their home, you're meeting them, at different places, and you're maybe sitting on a bench having a conversation with the person. So that's and so this will definitely be a produced show. So I definitely need a broadcast partner and production company for that type of show. Alrighty. And I imagine it being about a 20-minute, 22-minute interview that would fit into a 30-minute time slot. Now, the third show is what I'm calling the virtual reality or travelogue show. And this one's really just going to be kind of like me living on the road and meeting the different people, and maybe outtakes from the first two shows, kind of maybe some, behind the scenes conversations, and then, putting some kind of a camera on the outside of my RV as I drive down the road and drive through different parts of the country. And you could see that and, talking about that. So that's more of a lighthearted, not necessarily doing an interview style, but something that's kind of like more of a virtual reality travelogue show. And again, I imagine that would fit into, maybe like a 30-minute time slot on a broadcast, broadcast show. So those are the three shows. The one is the American Gumption Morning Show, kind of this broadcast that I've been doing, do maybe 3 or 4 of them a week. And the second one would be more of produced videos, produced interview. And maybe, I don't know how many you do a year, 30, 40. I don't know. I have no idea. And then same thing with the travelogue show, same thing, like maybe 30 or so a year, something like that. So the American Gumption broadcast, daily broadcast, you might do 150, 200 of them a year. Who knows? I'm not sure what the actual numbers of it. Either way, I'll be busy doing stuff all the time, but all three of those could work nicely. And again, they could be 3 separate broadcast production companies. I already have a pretty good idea of how number 1 could work with minimal effort. And number 2 and 3, though, I'll definitely be looking for some partnerships. Next partnership that I'm looking for is the RV. And I have some specific ideas on how I could partner with potentially an RV dealer and work with them and help promote them and grow their brand. It would be some type of an arrangement where I'm doing some ongoing work for them, whether they be appearances or promotional things, part of the show itself. And then that'll give me a chance to basically earn the ability to, have this RV to use and, be part of my rig. And that will change over time. It can be very basic to begin with, and it'll be more advanced as it goes along. And as I provide more value, then we can upgrade and have a better broadcast vehicle to go from. So I'm imagining an RV with a studio inside, instead of having like the living room and the fold out couch or sofa, sleeping bed. That would be like basically my studio, where I have the ability to set up my cameras on a regular basis, and a little studio that people come into the RV and cameras turned on, record, and have an interview. All right. That could be part of all 3 of the shows, primarily show number 1, but all part of all 3 of the shows. And then finally, the last piece is that just the basic technology that I need to broadcast from the road. I went and I did a little beta the last couple of weeks, where I traveled the last 3.5 weeks across the country in a car and stayed with friends along the way, and did some virtual shows from the road, and had some basic equipment, basically a couple of tripods, an iPad, an iPhone, and my computer, and it worked. And it was perfectly fine. But in terms of getting a higher production quality, there's some very specific equipment that I've identified, and I'll share that in a future broadcast, what I need. But basically, this equipment will be part of how I can, produce the American Gumption daily show or morning show, as it's now called, on a regular basis with a much higher production and broadcast quality. And the connectivity is kind of a big piece too, because the internet is pretty good for working out of the, using StreamYard and broadcasting from home. But in terms of it being something that's reliable from the road, there's some equipment that TV studios or TV stations use that's pretty standard equipment that allows them to do live remotes. So it's that type of equipment that I'll be looking to get. And then some cameras and microphones and lighting and, switching equipment to make it all interwork together. And that has all been identified. So I have a basic kind of a list of all that stuff that needs to happen. So maybe there's a company out there that, I partner with and, help to promote their business. And maybe we create some kind of a broadcasting network for the person who doesn't want to just do the thing from home, but wants to do something a little higher level, the next level up. Maybe I become a spokesman for that type of equipment. Who knows? We'll figure that out. Again, because it's law of attraction, we want to just say what are the needs, and then we'll let the actual details of how it comes to manifest and how it actually comes to be work itself out. Not be so committed to it that I'm stuck with that. All righty, so that's basically what I wanted to share with you today, and that was from reading Andrew's book, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And I've read it, and chapter 5 or right about chapter 5 said, hey, you got to list what you're doing. So I wanted to share that publicly in terms of what I'll be what I'll be manifesting, not attempting, I catch myself, what I will be creating. I will be creating these partnerships and sponsorships over the next couple of months as I go from, being a broadcaster here in a studio in Southeast Pennsylvania to someone who's living and working from the road in the RV, broadcasting on a regular basis. All righty. So with that, I'm going to invite our guest, Andrew, to come join us. He is in the green room, warmed up. Hopefully they've been taking good care of him. The American Gumption elves have been back there, making him feel comfortable. Andrew Cap, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve. The elves have been very kind. The cookies in the green room are awesome. Thanks so much for having me today.
Good. Well, welcome. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. And this is exciting for me because this is the first time that I've spoken with a law of attraction author, someone who is really, dug in deeper than just, me being a student, listening to Abraham and kind of figuring it out and reading stuff and, being a student day in and day out. So. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for, and I'm really anxious to talk about that. But just when you were talking, I'm in the green room and the elves are like giving me pens and paper because I'm writing all these notes, both ideas that were inspired for me and for you. Because when you were talking about partnerships, just to throw that out there, and we'll circle around and back to law of attraction related. I wonder if you could partner with tractor trailer hitch companies. I wonder if you could partner with camping companies or survival gear companies. There's so many things related to RV that might be able to go in there for you. And just off the top of my head, I want to share that with you before I forgot. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's funny.
When you think about what I want to do, it sounds it sounds like I need a lot. And yet it really is very minimal, because once you identify exactly what you need, it's like, yes, there's equipment, and yes, there's a rig, and yes, there's, some different alliances. But once you focus in on them, then it's not that complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm sure other sponsorship ideas will pop into your mind just as you continue to do this, even through the conversations you have when you're pitching people. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this evolves for you, and looking back even 6 months from now where we're at and what you've done in that time.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Good. So, hey, let me, so there's two rules here at the American Gumption Morning Show. When I have two rules about a first-time guest. And so, the rule number one is I get to read a bio, an intro of the person. I'm assuming you'll be okay with that. And then rule number two is I play a first-time guest welcoming song. We have a theme song that we play for first-time guests. So I'd like to read your bio and then play the song. Is that okay with you?
Let's do it. Let's find out what my entrance theme is also, right? I'm looking forward to
That's
it.
right. Well, it's the same as everybody else. And if we have you back, we're not allowed to play this because it's only for first-time guests. So,
Gotcha.
All righty. Well, let me go ahead and here, I'll rearrange the screen just a little bit. I'll put you in the big spot. There we are. And then I'm going to just let people know who you are, and then we'll play that song. So Andrew Kaplan holds one goal above all others through his various projects: genuine and sustainable impact. Genuine and sustainable impact. That's just short and sweet, but I love it. That says it all right there. His latest offering, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, offers readers a never before seen understanding of the topic. It does what no other LOA or Law of Attraction book has ever been able to do. It goes the extra mile and finally addresses why people who get excited about trying it, still can't manage to get it in the habit of using it and making the methods work for them. So this is an important ingredient. That's kind of the secret part of your book, is you go into it and like you're part cheerleader and you're part instructor in the book in terms of just, hey, you can do this, and here's how you do it. So I love that. The book has enjoyed continued success, including over 1,000 5-star rave reviews. It's been a #1 bestseller status in multiple categories on Amazon. And Andrew has a growing YouTube channel devoted to it. And I even have a banner there. It says Andrew podcast Shatter. What does it say? Shatter the Mold.
Mm-hmm. That's all. It's another project I've got. So I've got a Shatter the Mold podcast. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/Andrew Cap. And yeah, we'll definitely dive in and talk about the book. And quick little confusion dissolving here. Like, there's Kaplan and Cap. The reason that it's Cap for the book is I had to shorten my name just because there's another Kaplan out there and I didn't want to cannibalize the sales. So people interested in the book will look for Andrew Cap. That's where they'll find me.
Excellent. And your social, like if you find you on LinkedIn, it's Andrew Kaplan. So anyway, you go by both names.
Yep. Depending on the situation, I go by both. And I think hopefully most people will, after this interview, they'll either be interested in the book or just the free YouTube content. That'll be the most useful to them in the context of the conversation we're going to have today.
Awesome. Very good. Alrighty, so now Andrew used his techniques to reclaim his own life in a very short time after losing his business and his girlfriend all in the same week. That was not a good week for you.
Not a fun week. Definitely not.
But the fast changes that he experienced in his finances, his love life, and his health blew him away, so much so that, it made him understand how these simple methods were working and why they weren't working in the past. And really that was the inspiration for the book. And, it was like you wrote the book based on your own experience. Is that true or false?
Yeah. So, I wrote the book basically to save the next person in line so that they don't have to go through what I went through to get to the other side. And it's really just one of those things where people will be surprised. They read the book, and I'm happy to give you the background here, but I don't tell much of my story in the book. I'm more focused on here's what's going on for you, the reader, and here's some methods that will come into place and really putting it together. Because it's kind of like you can see on the cover behind me. I don't even put my name on the cover. For me, the book is kind of the star, but more importantly, the reader is the star. And I like putting the focus and the energy in that direction.
I love that. All righty. So Andrew Cap, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Let's play the first time guest theme song. All right. Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a show before, Andrew?
I have not, Steve. It makes me wonder if I can get myself back on the show. What'll be the theme song when I come back? We'll have to figure that part out too, right?
I don't have a theme song for a second-time guest. It's just
you'll have some licensing issues. But I had a friend in college. He I don't know why, he was like big into NSYNC. He wanted to be like in a boy band, and he always listens to the song they had called "I Want You Back." That might be a good song if you can get the streaming rights.
Right. Well, we'll stick with John Philip Sousa for the first time welcoming. So anyway, welcome. We're glad you're here today. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to talk about law of attraction, but you teased it a little bit, and your book did not mention it. What was the backstory in terms of, what did you go through? What was that 1 year or week like where things fell apart, and then how quickly were you able to rebound? And because you probably were, my thinking is that you were familiar with the law of attraction before, but you weren't really making it work for you.
Yeah, I learned about the law of attraction back in 2004, and I was, a young entrepreneur. And I think, entrepreneurs and salespeople in particular, but everyone in their life, but those in particular, when they have to kill their own dinner, so to speak, and they don't have a steady salary, they find themselves going down the road of personal development, positive mindset, positive modalities, things like that. Law of attraction for me was one of many, and it kind of seemed to make sense, but by that same token, it was very inconsistent. I'd find out a couple of years later, I was the one that was being inconsistent, but that took me a little bit. It took me, because I had my own successes and failures, but 2008 rolls around. So we're 4 years that I'm aware of this thing. I'm kind of doing it. I'm kind of not. And I have what I guess called the worst week of my life in recent memory, where I basically lost what felt to me was like 90% of my life, because my business was like teetering, and I finally quit it. And 3 days later, my girlfriend of 3 years breaks up over a text. So, everything kind of like falls apart all at once. And, obviously anyone in that situation, they're not really sure what they're going to be doing. And I was, obviously there was a bit of a depression, but it was also a bit of an anger and a frustration. And I got really stubborn and indignant. And I was like, something's got to change here. Let me think. That law of attraction thing kind of worked whenever I actually did it and didn't stop. So I had this attitude of like, I don't care what happens, when it happens, why it happens, how it happens. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to go all in with this thing once and for all, which is really just saying I'm going to do 5 or 10 minutes every single day. Not all day, every day, because I knew that I was going to burn out no matter what. I'm only human. But I was upset enough and frustrated and therefore motivated enough that I can do 5 or 10 minutes of gratitude or visualization every day. And to answer your question about like how long it took, like these results were miraculous, because 2 weeks later, I felt better, which is saying a lot with a broken heart. 3 months later, I'm over my ex and in a brand new, way healthier relationship. 4 months later, I'm making more money than at any point in my life before then. And 6 months later, like everything's different. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm waking up happy and fulfilled. I'm running on all cylinders. And I learned the hard way that, whatever this thing is, and we're going to call it the law of attraction because that makes the most sense on my life experience. But whatever this thing is, this thing works if you work it. And I didn't learn that from a guru or from a book or from a mentor. I learned it through my own life experience. So no one could really take it away from me. No one could recontextualize. It was there. And ever since that day, I've had more ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but whenever I've stuck with it, everything has always been better. Everything has always gone better. And I even used it to get this book out there, to get the, I guess now 60,000 copies sold, and, to get the YouTube channel going, to get the 5-star rave reviews, to get all the positive momentum. I've been very intentional in that way. It's even in part of the book where I do it.
Yeah. So it's funny you said 2008. That really was a kind of a transformative time. And that began, I had a plan that I had put in place about 5 years earlier. And 2008 was the year that the real estate market changed. And, for the first time ever, real estate went down. And I had a lot of momentum in that direction. So my momentum stopped. And really for me, it was 2009, but the same kind of a thing where I went, oh my gosh, I've got to do something different. And I didn't really, and I think it was around that time, that law of attraction, but I didn't really start, becoming a hardcore student until the last year or so. So anyway, so what would be, go ahead and describe what is the law of attraction for somebody who, I've talked about it before, and I kind of assume that most people know what the law of attraction is, but imagine somebody not knowing what it is. Go ahead and just give your basic definition.
Yeah, well, law of attraction is based on the premise that everything is energy, including you, including me, including the devices we're speaking on, and including our thoughts. And it's also based on the premise that like energy attracts like energy, and that since everything is vibrating at its own frequency, which if you don't believe me, look at your hand under a microscope, and it won't look as solid as your physical senses tell you it is. But because of that, we can be intentional about our thoughts and our feelings vibrating at a certain frequency to invite things that we want. So, it's really what you think about becomes your reality. But to quickly answer that person in the back of the room screaming, well, I've been thinking about that job promotion for a year, how come it's not here yet? I would always ask them, are you thinking about it with a sense of frustration, impatience, fear, uncertainty, doubt? Because if you are, you may think you're thinking about the job promotion, but you're actually thinking about and therefore vibrating the frequency. And if you don't believe in frequency, therefore programming your subconscious mind with the lack of the job promotion. Whereas if you're thinking about it in terms of enthusiasm, anticipation, gratitude, now you're thinking of it. Now you're actually tracking it into your experience.
Yeah, that's such an important point. The idea that the law of attraction does not know a negative, or it doesn't. Vibrations don't recognize a negative. So if you're like frustrated and annoyed with the fact that you're not getting that job promotion, all the law of attraction is focusing on is not getting it, instead of like getting it. So how do we what's one of the easiest ways to begin to become aware of that? Because when I hear people talk, and when I hear myself talk, when I started paying attention to the way I talked, I realized that vibrationally I was sending out a lot of mixed signals, and now I can hear when others talk, I can hear kind of those negative mixed signals. So I became very aware of and conscious of the language that I use, and then the thoughts, and then your subconscious and your conscious thoughts. I mean, how do you begin to even get control of this?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. So I remember the first time I ever became aware of this was actually a year before I just with a friend, and I was telling him about my life and my business, and he's like, dude, stop right now and scroll right up and read what you wrote. And I look up to everything I wrote. I'm talking about how frustrated I am, how nothing is working out. He's like, dude, you are programming yourself to do this. And he wasn't a law of attraction guy at that point, but he pointed me direction of this book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter, which is more about like you telling me I was programming my mind for this. And I think that's all related. Mind, universe, it's all one big soup. So I guess a good suggestion is someone like, maybe they want to go into their Facebook Messenger and they look at all the conversations where they're catching up with someone and they look at how they're describing their life. And some people, they like to fake. So they might not even saying bad things. They might be saying good things, but can they remember themselves lying about it and actually feeling bad? So they should go through those conversations, and whether they're physically verbalizing something where it's clear what they're talking about, or they know that when they were typing it, they felt the complete opposite. Those are very good ways of being self-aware. However, even though that's a nice piece, a nice, really good cheat code, which, by the way, Steve, is a cheat code to everything. Let's make this nice and simple. It's just feeling gratitude for 5 minutes a day. Because when you're doing that, if you are intentionally putting yourself in the space of feeling gratitude, things will auto-correct without you needing to. And it might be a thing where that first day you feel gratitude, it's actually legitimate, and then you go about your day and something negative happens. And you're like, well, this isn't working. It's like, whoa, stop. When you're lifting weights, the first day you're bench pressing, you can't expect your body to transform in one day. You're starting a process and a pattern. And what's going to happen is you're going to do those 5 minutes a day, and then something will get you in a bad mood, fine, but you're going to move on with your day. The next day you're going to wake up, you're going to do another 5 minutes, and then something else will happen. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it'll feel worse. Maybe not. Maybe it'll last longer. Maybe not. But over time, as you continue to do this gratitude every single day, you're going to naturally become more self-aware. You're going to naturally, without having to try to do it, you're going to raise your self-esteem. You're going to notice things happening in your life that are better. And as studies will tell, you're going to sleep better. You're going to reduce your anxiety, and all these things are going to happen. And all of a sudden, you're going to be on the offense, where you're going to notice yourself thinking things. You're going to turn it around in the moment. And also, while those moments of happiness are going to increase, those moments of unhappiness are going to be less frequent.
Gratitude is really the the foundation of that. Appreciation. Do you differentiate a gratitude and appreciation? Because some people have. I'd like to hear your take on the two of them.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned Abraham Hicks, who I'm a big fan of. I love the style of that content, and I remember one time I posted in Facebook about gratitude, and an Abraham Hicks person's like, no, it's appreciation. You're wrong, Andrew. And to me, it's like every word that we have, every language pattern, these are all loaded terms. So like the word God is a loaded word because everyone brings so much meaning. The word sex and the phrase law of attraction, the word gratitude, the word appreciation. I like to keep things very simple strategically. I would say that whether it's gratitude or appreciation, it's basically you feeling good while thinking about what you have or what you want or both. And if you keep it that simple without worrying about the specificity of the word or the way it's exactly defined, you're still going to get the benefit out of it.
Yeah, no, that's great. The main thing is that we're in some kind of a mode where we're looking like at what is happening in the present moment and appreciating or feeling that gratitude, for what's happening, and just counting our blessings, just feeling like, hey, life is good. I've journaled for about 10 years, and I've done it off and on in terms of like whether I do it daily. But in the last couple of years, I started the reason why I'm saying it, I initially started my journaling as kind of a way to just sort of wake up and like, get whatever's in my system out of my system. And I changed my thinking about that in that I started like becoming very conscious of the words that I used to journal. I didn't like to put like any kind of negative spin on things or complaining about things. So I would, write something and I'd go back and I'd self-correct it in terms of like, making it more positive. So a gratitude and appreciation really does go a long way.
It does. And, the unfortunate thing of it is even people who are all about positive intention and positive mindset, oftentimes they think, they hear me say, just be grateful for 5 minutes a day, and they think it's ridiculous. And, you got to wonder, well, why is that happening? Well, is it something that they tried in the past and it didn't work? Is it something where it seems too simple? Is it something where it seems too easy? Like, what's going on in the background that's happening with that, especially since I know, based on my own life experience and based on the experiences of people that I've worked with, that it actually is that powerful and that simple. And one of the things I talk about in my book is what I define as the ego. And you probably remember, I know you read it, like I talk about three minds. I talk about the conscious and the subconscious and the ego that's right in the middle. The ego being way stronger than the conscious mind, which is very relevant, but nothing being stronger than the subconscious, which is also really relevant. And the ego, as I define it, is that piece of your mind that has only one job in this world, and that's to keep you alive, which might technically be bad news because right now, anyone listening, whatever money problems you have, whatever relationship problems you have, even whatever health problems you have, your ego, from its perspective, knows that you are alive in this moment, and it doesn't want to risk the status quo. Meaning there might be someone out there who might want to use the law of attraction or gratitude exercises to get rich and famous. But for all your ego knows is when you become famous, you're going to get a stalker, and that's a threat to your survival. For all your ego knows is when you get rich, distant family is going to come out of the woodwork and try to take your home from you or sue you or something. It's a threat to your survival. So your ego actually loves you. This is a misguided attempt to keep you safe. But by that same token, since it only cares about your survival, it doesn't care about your satisfaction, about your fulfillment, about your happiness, about your comfort, or about anything like that. Meaning the now challenge becomes, well, this, by the way, is why we talk ourselves out of things. This, by the way, is why someone's saying, oh, it's so ridiculous that Andrew says that 5 minutes of gratitude is enough. And this is why people try it and they fail, because they actually are doing it for the wrong reasons, which we'll talk about later. But this comes down to, okay, what do we do? Well, let's bypass the ego, access the subconscious mind, which not only is a supercomputer in its own right, which can govern our behavior and activities to make us get closer to the finish line of what we want, but it will also vibrate to the universe for us and invite great things. And the way to do that is to simply finding a method that you enjoy for only 5 minutes a day so that it doesn't feel like such an uphill battle. And if you enjoyed enough to do it and you do it for the sake of doing it, the ego is going to have a lot more of a difficult time talking you out of it. whereas it has a much easier time talking you out of working out when you don't want the pain, or you don't want to risk injury, or you don't like going to the gym, or you don't like all these inconveniences. It's a lot easier to say no to that than it is to you sitting down for 5 minutes and just feeling good.
It's really important what you said about the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the ego being in between. If you think of a pyramid, right, the conscious mind is just that very, that top 5%, or like an iceberg, right, that shows up above. And then the subconscious mind, they say, is as much as 95% in terms of just automatic behaviors without. And so you're saying, and I never quite heard it described this way in the book you wrote, the ego sits right between that, the conscious mind, that small part, and then the bigger part, the subconscious mind. And you said the ego will overpower the conscious mind, but the subconscious mind can overpower the ego.
Yeah. Any part, any of those, either the conscious or the subconscious trying to go up against either the conscious or the ego trying to go up against the subconscious, it's like wrestling a grizzly bear. It's not going to work out because, like you said, it's so much of that pyramid. And every part of your mind has its purpose. I mean, the ego serves you in many ways. You want it looking out for your survival. Back in the day when we had to worry about saber-toothed tigers, it was really important to make sure that ego knew that when it saw like weird stripes or spots through the bushes, it's time to run. So there's a real purpose and a real importance to this. But by that same token, since it can't anticipate the future and the fact that your survival rate goes up when you're happy and successful, you've got to find strategic ways of going around that.
So then the question becomes, all right, so this big, massive subconscious mind, how do we get a control of that? How do we become, because, we want to be conscious, right? The conscious mind wants to have a healthy, loving relationship. It wants to have a job that we make more money at, and yet those subconscious mind is working. What do you say to the person who's like struggling with, getting control of the subconscious mind?
Well, I wouldn't say to control first of all, but let's look at it this way. Let's take Olympic athletes. Olympic athletes are the highest form of physical development and mental efficiency. Also, it's not just physical; it's mental. The level they have to perform at. Well, what do Olympic athletes do? Well, you do a little research, and they actually visualize and meditate, running their events in their mind repeatedly before they ever actually do the event. Now, let's think about this. You look at an Olympic athlete's schedule. It's nonstop around the clock. There is no time to waste on anything. Everything needs to be efficient. So if that's true, why are they, quote unquote, wasting time with this? Because it's not a waste of time, because studies and science has shown you that anything you run through in your mind versus physically done, your subconscious mind can't tell the difference. The Olympic athletes are actually efficiently training in that way. So getting back to controlling the subconscious mind, no, I'm not going to control it, but I'm going to gently and efficiently and easily feed it instructions for it to act on through gratitude and through visualization and through scripting, which is just journaling about your life in the present tense as if you're already living your dream life. Just by engaging in those processes, it automatically skips over the ego and automatically accesses the subconscious mind for you. And it's just like a gentle little nudge. You're not trying to control it. You're giving it the instructions so that it has the control of its own to actually do what you want it to do.
So you're really taking your conscious mind and instructing the subconscious mind with some simple techniques or methods to kind of reprogram it, or to program it. Maybe I guess it would be reprogramming, because the program's already there and it's running on autopilot. And so the goal is to tweak the program so that the autopilot part becomes working towards your advantage and towards your benefit.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and I'm making this up on the spot, so let's see if this actually makes sense.
Okay.
It's kind of like at a restaurant, the person ordering is the conscious mind, the person delivering it is the subconscious mind, and the ego is the manager, like looking over and making sure everything's going well. And the reason I say that is because this is about strategically using all parts of our mind where appropriate. We are strategically using our conscious mind to consciously and intentionally decide what we want to feed to the subconscious. We're intentionally using the subconscious mind to do the heavy lifting just by giving it those instructions. And we're actually also strategically using the ego, because here's the cool thing about the ego. When you level up in your life, the ego looks around and it's like, I'm alive. I can't risk changing this. So now it's protecting your new level of happiness. This is why certain people, they go and they make 6 figures and then they lose their job. And within a year, they're making 6 figures again by hook or by crook. It's because that's their new internal financial thermostat. So whatever level of peak happiness or success you achieve, that's now in there, that's now safe for the ego. So it's also going to fight tooth and nail to help you. All 3 can work in the right way when you're very strategic and intentional about how you approach each 3, depending on how each 3 are meant to respond and react and behave.
You know, we grow up, we're raised in families, we get programming as young kids, and we go through our lives. And if we don't ever change any of that, then you have that, you know, that 5% of the conscious mind saying, I want to make things different. And yet the subconscious mind is still kind of running that program from years and years and years earlier. So it's really a matter of using the conscious mind to begin to reprogram it and examine, you know, those beliefs that we've had and carried and habits that we've had. And do we want to continue those? It's a big job to, you know, undo some of that stuff.
Yes. And this is why I'm a huge proponent of doing something every day, which is also why I'm a huge proponent of finding something enjoyable. Because if it's not enjoyable, you're not going to do it every day. And if you don't do it every day, you are not really going to be successful in that regard. It's, you know, an example I often give people is I've yet to find an American football fan and have them say, oh, you mean I have to go to the Super Bowl this year? It's like, no, they're excited. They don't even care about the long plane ride. They don't worry about baking out in the sun all day waiting in the stadium. They're a football fanatic. They're excited to be there for the Super Bowl. And by the same token, to me, the real job, the real mission is in experimenting with these little gratitude methods so that you enjoy them enough that they become something that you get to do rather than something that you have to do. They become a choice rather than a chore, because when it's in that mode where it's something that you look forward to every day, it becomes an easy part of your routine. And therefore, that's when you're leveraging everything and everything starts turning around for you.
What is your routine like in the morning? I mean, tell us, share a little bit about your routine. How are you making this all work in your life today?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I take my own medicine. So every so often I'll just do a method from my book just because it's fun. But and I also remind people, you want to make this your own. So a lot of people want to begin their day, but some people prefer the middle of the day. Some people prefer the evening. So I'd always say, whatever version or time of the day works for you, that's the time that's right. What I'm personally doing right now, which, by the way, I'm in my 4th year of doing this, is I pull out my phone, usually in the morning, and I hit the recorder button, the record app, and I leave a message of all the things that I'm grateful for. All in the present tense. Some are happening and some I know they're going to happen. And I send that message off to my friend across the country, and he does the same thing for me. And what's really cool here is, again, I'm a strategy guy. I've strategically installed social pressure into this, even though I enjoy it because I don't want to let him down. So every single day, I'm recording something for 90 seconds to 5 minutes, feeling gratitude. He's doing the same thing. Sometimes he sends the message first and inspires my message to him, and sometimes vice versa. And the cool thing is, we've been at this for so long that we've seen incredible changes in our lives. He was there before the book was published. He was there, me talking about the 5-star rave reviews and, you know, all the thousands of sales and, you know, the YouTube channel. And now he's still hearing the same message in the present tense with the same enthusiasm, only now you could look around and it's actually happening. So that's my personal one every day. Me and my friend, we exchange these gratitude messages without fail. Every single day. We have not missed one day in over 4 years, in the 3.5 years of doing this right now.
So you have an accountability partner to hold you, and there's the real value of an accountability partner is that, you know, you said social pressure. It's like, hey, I've got to, you know, this person's counting on me, but it's not just like they're counting on you. It's like it's motivating you to do it, and then you're getting their feedback, and you're motivated by what they do.
Yes, and I'm doing it again because strategically it helps, but I want to emphasize, that's really nice. It makes it a lot more enjoyable, but neither me nor anyone else listening needs an accountability partner. If you could find one, awesome, leverage it, enjoy it, but no one needs it. You can do this you can pull out that phone and record the message and then delete it without sending it anywhere. So you can still do whatever any method from my book, any method you find online, anything, you can still do it every single day. The key is to make it fast because you're a busy person. And that way you can do it every day without feeling rushed, and make it something that's fun, because some people, they like to handwrite. Some people, they like to type. Some people, they like to speak. Some people, they like to visualize. Some people like to do every little thing. It's up to you. And you can do as many methods as you want, or just one method every single day without fail. As long as you do something every single day and you enjoy it, you're on the winning track. And, you know, even though, like, let's call me lying or delusional, even though I believe that you'll see some amazing things come. If I'm wrong about that, you are still taking 5 healthy minutes out of the day where you're not worried about your job. You're not worried about the relationship. You're not worried about that nagging injury. You're not worried about the state of the world. You're giving yourself 5 minutes to just breathe and relax and enjoy yourself and appreciate life in the moment. That in and of itself is a gift that can't be replaced.
Abraham talks about the intention, and lots of other people who mindset people talk about like just getting clear on the intention, and then but not being so specific that you like are trying to control it, letting that subconscious mind, letting the subconscious connected to the universe, to the quantum field, do its magic and bringing it, the attracting part. What do you say about, how specific do you want to be, and where should you be specific and where should you not be specific?
Yeah. So to me, there's 2 elements of specificity. First, I'm a huge proponent of using specificity to the point that it still feels good. As soon as it starts to feel weird or overwhelming, or like, I don't know how I'm going to ever do this, you're in a bad place, because if it doesn't feel good, it's counterproductive. And kind of what Abraham was saying, you could pull out and be very general. As long as you feel good, whether you're general or specific or anywhere on that spectrum, as long as you feel good, you're inviting what you want, because the universe still knows. Again, we are one big energetic soup, and every thought you have, conscious and subconscious, the universe knows it anyway. Now, by that same token, if you want to use a level of specificity and it feels good, you should still, I would recommend leave a little flexibility, because the universe will often pleasantly surprise you. Going back to my story, notice what I said. I said, I don't care what happens, when it happens, why it happens, how it happens. I still use details and specificity in my visualization, my gratitude, but I didn't worry about the outcome. And what I've seen in my life and the lives of others is when you're not worried so much about the details or the timing, by the way, things will often come faster and better than you could have imagined. Because someone, again, I love using jobs because we can all relate, even if we want to work for ourselves. Someone might want that brand new job and they're really being intentional about it. But if they can relax and sit back and be a little looser, maybe they don't get that job, because a month later, a better job at a higher salary with a better commute, with better people, with more career prospects comes later for them. Maybe the universe is keeping you from a specific thing because 1, you're pulling it away through your frustration, or 2, it has something way better. If only in the meantime, you'll just say, let me enjoy my life in the meantime. Let me understand all things in good time. Let me invite whatever might come to me and be pleasantly surprised.
1 year ago, I had the vision of the American Gumption project. And it was just the one show I envisioned. And then the Daily Show came out of that, starting, a few months after I had the original vision. And when I was preparing for my monologue today, I was a lot more specific than I was a year ago. And yet I was also intentionally unspecific about exactly the way some of these alliances will look, because I don't know who the partners are at this point, and I didn't want to try to define too much what would be a benefit to them or what their needs would be, because I just don't understand it yet. Is that, do you have any comment on that?
I mean, I think that's great. And I'm sure when you were doing the show and you weren't really looking at me backstage, but there were a couple of times I pulled out my phone, because remember I told you inspired thoughts for you and for me. I love coming up with methods with just easily identifiable names, because it makes it fun and it makes it easy to process and do. So while you were talking and I heard you talking about that, I invented a brand new method called the Can You Top This? But U is the letter U for universe. Can you, as in the universe, top this? And it's a method where I'm just making up right now, where what you should do is you should write down a list of things with the understanding of universe. Go ahead and do this for me if you want, but also I dare you, I challenge you to do better than this. I dare you to come up with a better detail. I dare you to change the speed up on this. I dare you to do whatever. And by the way, if I'm wrong and you just make it this way, that's cool too. So it's all about, being loose about it, having fun, being open. And as long as you feel good, like some people, again, like there are certain people where a deadline at least they've convinced themselves of so, a deadline will serve them. But for me in my life, a deadline's never been good because it's always installed this extra level of unnecessary pressure, and it just hasn't worked out. So as soon as I figured that out, I'm like, listen, I'm going to sit back and relax. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. I'm not going to worry about the timing. I'm not going to worry about the details. But by the same token, I am going to visualize different specifics with different levels of specificity from the sense of this would be fun. And even Abraham Hicks likes to say, wouldn't it be nice if? Wouldn't it be nice if? That's one of their things that they say. Have that open attitude. So I guess that's my long-winded way of saying I loved your approach. I agree with it. I do it. And I hope others might be inspired by it and try it themselves.
Thank you, Andrew. Our mutual friend, Kathy Mason, who is really the reason why we got connected, says hello. And she also says, can you top this?
Yes.
I think she likes what she's hearing there. And
Kathy's awesome. Kathy, it's so great to see you.
And then we have Angel also commenting. Let me make sure I'm reading. In intention with inner voice, what do we really want? And then she also says trust, ask, faith, action, flow. So yeah, it's all about getting focused on what it is we want, and then letting the universe, the you, take care of the details and how it comes out. So we just have to kind of it's not easy to decide what we want sometimes. What do you say to the person who's just not sure where they want to go?
So two pieces. One, just to speak to what Angel said, she used the word action. I didn't want to miss that because Abraham spoke of inspired action. Part of this process will require action, but it will be inspired. You'll be visualizing for a certain point, and then you'll be inspired to write that book, or inspired to reach out to that sponsor, or inspired to take whatever it might be. And since it's not coming from a sense of lack, but from a sense of enthusiasm, that's where that's going to be good. Now, to answer your question, it's actually the same thing. When you're visualizing good things, don't even what I would do? I would do a scripting session where I'm saying, I'm so happy and grateful that I finally have certainty in my life. I'm so happy and grateful that I know exactly where I'm going, but I'm also grateful that I don't need to come up with everything perfectly. I'm grateful to wake up happy and fulfilled every day. I'm happy and grateful to have great people in my life. Doing that, and all of a sudden little details will occur to you where you're like, okay, now I know what I want. Meaning, don't put yourself in so much pressure and so much of a rush. Or, go the opposite. Say, let me challenge myself to write 500 things that I want and just spill it out, like a big brain dump. And maybe then you read the list like, you know what? I only care about 20 of these, but at least I forced myself to spit it out because the truth was hiding in plain sight in this illusion that I really don't know what I want. Because what we really want, we all want to be happy. We all want to be content. We all want to be grateful. We all want to love and be loved. We all want that. Go from there, start on that foundation, and let the other details kind of find their way to you.
It's I like that. I'm thinking about the last 10 years of my life, and there was it was a transitional time. I had done this one thing for 15 years, and then that ended, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. And it was like this. I was in Montana, and I remember. And this is a perfect law of attraction example. I remember saying over and over, as soon as I can figure out what I want to do next, I was like so much in the future in terms of not allowing, staying present and just appreciating and enjoying, some of the things that I was, and it was like a forced trying to make something happen. And it just didn't happen. And I realized in the last 2 years, oh my gosh, I have so much clarity now. But there was about a 7 or 8 year period where I was focused on unclarity, right? As soon as I can figure out, as soon as I can get clarity, and that trying to force the clarity just didn't work.
Yeah. And, I've been there. We're often told, again, you're talking about programming growing up, and even after you're grown up, we're told that we're supposed to have purpose. We're supposed to have direction. Well, yes and no. If you pressure yourself on that to find what that means, you might be limiting yourself. And I think the number one lesson I take away, at least from my experience when I was trying to force things, is the best thing that I could have done for myself in that moment was to enjoy life in the meantime. Because not only, whether let's pretend you believe in reincarnation. Even if you do, this go around with these details, with this personality in this life, these friends, this family, these circumstances, these opportunities, you still only get this once. So knowing that you only get this specific trip once, don't waste it. Enjoy yourself in the meantime, because ironically and strategically, that will bring what you want sooner and better anyway. But it's really like me. I worked so hard on my business, I wasted my 20s. I could have enjoyed them so much more. And if I enjoyed them, I would have been so much happier and successful. I wasted them before finally getting my act together. And I'd advise people, find something every single day to enjoy and appreciate. It really does make a difference. And even if I'm wrong, at least you're not wasting your life. But P.S., spoiler alert, I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So I apologize. I'm just now putting up your banner that I had prepared. Andrew Kaplan, Law of Attraction expert. It's andrewkap.weebly.com.
Yeah, actually, I have a better link. That one's just for my media kit. I mean, that people want to check that out, they can see interviews and stuff, but that's more for podcast hosts. One that I would recommend to people is lastlawofattractionbook.com. So don't worry about that one. That'll link you to it and then you'll see it. But yeah, lastlawofattractionbook.com will auto forward you to the Amazon listing. You can check it out in Kindle or paperback or audiobook. But also, just because, not wasting the opportunity, you could also go to youtube.com/AndrewKap. And either way, so that's a little preview back-end link if people want to check out other interviews and stuff. But the other stuff will go more to the book and the YouTube channel.
And the podcast is called Shatter the Mold. So just find that on wherever you can find your podcast.
If I may, Steve, a quick story about that.
Yep.
When I launched Shatter the Mold in March of 2019, I had no idea I was going to write this book. I was giving myself permission to experiment and feel. And it only came to a conclusion, like, I want to do something new in my business. Where do I provide value? And where, to be candid, will I not be bored? Where won't I be bored? And where I'll be excited to engage with customers. I'm like, let me finally talk about this law of attraction stuff that I've been doing for years anyway, and express myself. And once that happened, I was still doing Shatter the Mold, which is an entrepreneurial podcast, which still is to this day. But I added in the level of, like, let me tell people about my journey. Every episode, I'll update where I'm at with law of attraction. I'll tell people about the articles it's featured in. I'll thank people for all the reviews. So I pivoted in the moment without, I love the Shatter the Mold thing, so I didn't have to throw that away. I didn't have to give that up, although I could have if I wanted to. I just pivoted in the moment with what I was inspired to do through, all the visualization, through all the gratitude. So even my medicine of what I teach brought me to the point of sharing it through this book itself.
Well, terrific. This is a lot of fun. We should wrap up, but I'm going to give you the last word on anybody who doesn't believe in the law of attraction or doesn't think that it works. What would you say to that person?
Let's talk about lifting weights here to get muscles. You lift the weights, you get muscles, right? It's very oversimplified. All right, I want to give you two possible explanations as to how this works. Explanation number one is when you lift weights, you go to sleep at night, the muscle fairy comes. And she waves her magic wand and you wake up with more muscles. Poof, congratulations. Explanation number two is when you are lifting weights, you're putting so much stress on your body that your muscles are actually tearing in little areas. And then your body responds by healing itself by filling in those gaps with more muscle fiber, hence more muscles. Now, that's a butchered explanation, but I'm sure most people would say, Andrew, it's the second one. To which I say, unless you're a personal trainer, it doesn't matter what the answer is. All that matters is you put X, you get Y. You, like you do these, you lift weights, you get muscles. And by that same token, if you do these methods, these gratitude methods, these visualization methods, these scripting methods, even if you don't believe in the law of attraction, by hook or by crook, you will see results. And when those results come, please don't give me credit. Don't give my book credit. Don't give the universe credit. Don't give energy credit. But at least recognize that when you did that thing, you got that result, because then at least you can keep doing it and keep getting the benefit, whether you believe in it or not. And again, if I'm wrong or lying or deluded or anything else, feeling gratitude for just 5 minutes a day is a win in and of itself. And P.S., quick final thing, most people mess this up. Don't do the method to get the result, because when you're doing the method to get the result, you're putting out the vibration of a lack of the result. Do the method for enjoying the method. When you enjoy it in the moment, then the result will come. Do the method in the moment to enjoy it. That's the key. Whether you believe in this or not, try it. You will thank me later.
Andrew Kap, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a fun conversation. You obviously have, I love the fact that you put the method to work for yourself and you're using it every day. And it's something that goes on, right? We're never like we're never done with this. It's the journey. And so the journey just keeps going, and we want more. We want, better relationships. We want different things in our life all the time. And the law of attraction is a beautiful way to live your life and achieve those things and feel like you're, you're creating the life that you want.
Yes. Not only do we want more, we deserve more. And it's high time we acknowledge that for ourselves. Everyone listening is worthy of this. They need only step into it.
All righty. Well, thank you, Andrew. This was great. I had a fun time talking with you. I thank you. I would love to have you back again. We don't have a song to play for you, other than that first time guesting, but this was fun. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. It would be my absolute honor, song or no song, to be on again. And I really appreciated the intentionality of your questions. Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, thank you. See you next time. Wow, that was great. We went just a few minutes long. That's okay. I'm going to just go ahead and wrap up and close this show down. Tomorrow I will be here, probably a monologue only segment, so it'll be a short show. And then Wednesday, Pamela Geron, she is a singer-songwriter, and we'll be talking about sound healing on Wednesday. All righty, that's it. We'll see you tomorrow.